One of the things in terms of activism and practice that you're involved with is the International Conference on Critical Education, the ICCE, along with Kostas Skoudilis and other comrades in Greece. And I think that's such an important event in terms of education and kind of raising issues and consciousness about the stuff that we've been talking about today. The role of education and raising consciousness, can you say something more about that in terms of developing a Marxist project, a working class movement?
Yeah, I've written some stuff on the socialist education programme, and although I would fall into the category of being a reproductionist Marxist, viewing the education system as something which works or attempts to work and works fairly successfully in reproducing the existing social class structure, the existing ideological, the existing common sense ideology. So as well as being a reproductionist theorist, I also recognise the need for hope, for utopianism, for plans, for ideas, for inspiration, and I recognise very well the efforts of hundreds of thousands of communist and Marxist and socialist and Freirean teachers and educators and critical social workers, cultural workers. I recognise the work that people have been doing for more than 100 years. I get a bit annoyed when some people into critical pedagogy think that critical pedagogy and education for transformation of society into a much more equal society. I get a bit annoyed when some people think it just started in the United States in the 70s and 80s. People have been doing it, communists and socialists and Marxists have been doing it for well over 100 years, resisting and trying to develop what Gramsci called good sense instead of the currently hegemonic common sense, trying to develop what Marx called the working class into a class for itself instead of simply being a class in itself. That is to say, a class with a program, with an understanding of the objective capitalist configuration and effects in society. And people like you and people like me and people have been doing this for a very long time, exposing, critiquing. I'm not a liberal educator who says, "Oh, let's be fair, let's give the capitalist view and let's give the Marxist view, and then make up your own minds." Some critical pedagogues take that approach. I don't. Sod it. You know, the capitalist class controls the newspapers, the BBC, 1 million images a day, and so I think it is up to us to be open and say, look, I'm a Marxist. Make the most of me, because you might not get much of this. And it is a different way of looking at the world. Not only is it a different way of looking at the world, but it is a preferred way. This is in my view, the correct way. And so in my writing, when I give talks, I usually talk about being a Marxist involves anger, analysis, activism, 3 A's. Actually, it should be anger, analysis, hope, activism. So it involves the anger. I am very angry about the inequalities. But then that's not enough. I don't just want that anger to result in breaking windows and shouting at police. We have to have analysis. And for me, the Marxist analysis about the capitalist nature of society, the essentially exploitative relationship, exploiting the labour power, taking the surplus value from the labour of workers by the capitalist class. I think that analysis, that critique, that critical analysis that Marx and Engels engaged in is is so important. But again, that analysis is not enough. What do we do about the analysis? I mean, Marx in one of the theses on Feuerbach, and John Molyneux has written a book called "The Point is to Change It." And so one of the most important aspects of Marxism is it is a call for activism, that philosophers have only interpreted the world. The point is to change the world. And for that, so that's anger, analysis, activism. Now, how do we do the activism? Do we just go out as a mob? Do we go out as a social movement, 300,000 people, with no program other than protest against, I don't know, Trump or Thatcher? Or like in Tent City? Do we have an unfocused, or in Tahrir Square? So they got rid of one dictator and replaced him by another. I think we need, as activists, three things. I think we need party, I think we need organisation, and I think we need programme. The party, I think, should be a revolutionary Marxist party. In Greece it's easy because there are such. In Antalya there is the party of which I'm a member, Okte Spartakos, which is a Greek Trotskyist party. In England it's not so easy because the Marxist and Trotskyist parties, I encourage people to join them, the main ones being the Socialist Workers' Party and the Socialist Party. They're small, important particularly on online stuff and in the propaganda that they produce to combat the Daily Mail propaganda. But I think we need a more pluralist, democratic Marxist form, such as the Fourth International, such as the Mandelite tradition. The question of whether that should be inside or outside the main Social Democratic Party, well, if you're Marxist inside PASOK or the Parti Socialiste or PSOE or the Labour Party, you get expelled. They use you as foot fodder, as to knock on doors. So I know the criticisms. I know very, very well the criticisms of Marxists working inside social democratic parties. It seems to me that at this current stage, the working class, the movement, the activists are with Jeremy Corbyn. And so it seems to me, and my comrades in Greece disagree with me, which saddens me because I'm very close with them. It seems to me that Marxists should have a Marxist current within the Labour Party. To be honest, I think at some stage that current may have to then leave the Labour Party or be expelled. But Marxists need to support left-wing movements. Okay, so party, organisation. Yeah, it's no good just going out on a demo. You've got to have organisation, you've got to be in touch with each other, you've got to have regular meetings, political education meetings, and you've got to have programme. And I think Corbyn's got, this might seem very strange to any Trotskyists watching, I'm a Trotskyist, this might seem strange, but Corbyn's programme could be deemed to be a transitional programme. In other words, a programme, not a minimum programme, let's have a few reforms, not a maximum programme, let's take over everything immediately, but a transitional programme where the demands are seemingly very, very modest and achievable, like maximum shove up corporation tax to pay for social services, tax the rich at 80 or 90%, which I would agree with, maximum wage of 20 times they are actually revolutionary. Also the coming out of NATO, stopping being the I know I've used this phrase before, but I'll use it again, the arse lickers of American imperialism. That is very dangerous to the capitalist class, internationally as well as nationally. That is, to me, a transitional programme. And what happens with the transitional program? You pose it, and you get millions supporting it. And then the capitalist class says, no, we can't do that. And then there's crunch time. Crunch time. That's when you need the physical people physically on the streets. And that's when, in certain situations, the army comes over on the side of the working class. And that's happened in a number of, it happened in 1917, it's happened in various other situations as well. So we need, Marxists believe in critique, and we believe analytical critique. We believe in organisation, party, organisation and programme. And I'm fed up. I'm not a young man anymore. I'm fed up with just pushing for little reforms, even though those reforms immensely help people. I want to get rid of the system. As a Marxist, there's a fundamental difference between me and Marxists and Social Democrats. Social Democrats want to manage the system, want to make it fairer. It can't stay being fairer because crises of capital erupt. It's in the nature of capitalism. And so there's always periods of austerity. 1930s, and now again today, for example, 19th century. So Social Democrats want to manage capitalism. Marxists want to replace it. I think I'll end on two quotes. There's a quote from Rosa Luxemburg, one of my heroines, murdered by Social Democrat government, actually, of Germany after the First World War. Rosa Luxemburg, her most famous phrase is, the future is barbarism or socialism. Well, for millions, we are now living in barbarism. And if we go in different countries in the world, not just Britain, then the future is barbarism or socialism. And my final quote is from Bertolt Brecht, famous German communist playwright. Those who struggle may fail. Those who do not struggle have already failed. We must struggle.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Pleasure.